Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The DRFBets race of the day for Wednesday, July the 10th. Race number 3 at Delaware Park. We're going a mile on the turf. This is a maiden special weight, and it kicks off a 50-cent pick 5. Get involved by signing up for a new DRFBets account. As you can see, you can access $150 in risk-free bets. Let's meet the field for Wednesday's DRFBets race of the day. You can access free formulator past performances on the race of the day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take this field in post position order, beginning with the number 1 stated, Matt, 4-1 on the morning line. I think you can make an argument that this mare is the one to beat. The last 4 turf buyers are better than anything the rest of the field has ever earned on the turf, and this horse is going second off the layoff while stretching out to an appropriate distance.
Typically, this is the kind of horse that every fiber of my being I want no part of. She's 0 for 12. It feels like she's a bit of a proven loser at this point, but you brought it up, Dan. She just kind of, I don't want to say she lays over this field on figures, but you're right. The last 4 turf races, any one of those I think is good enough to win in a spot like this. Now, I wouldn't want anything too short as far as the price is concerned, but if you actually said you could sign up for that 4-1 right now, I would be very tempted to take it. I picked her second, but I could certainly see her winning.
I picked her second as well. I would have to use her to kick off the 50-cent pick 5, and stretching out, she might show a little bit of speed and could save some valuable ground after breaking from the inside post. Remember, fairly short run going into the first turn here at Delaware. The number 2 is I Am A Luring. Now, I Am A Luring has raced 5 times and has only finished ahead of 1 horse in her entire career. The blinkers are coming off. The 4th place finisher from the last race did come back to win with a 61 buyer, but let's be honest, this filly really has to improve by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, she's hard to make just based on paper right here at face value. You see those short running lines, and a couple of them, or the short comments, I should say. A couple of times she's had some traffic issues, but really, I need a little bit more than a few little traffic issues to make up this many lengths that she's going to need to in order to win in a race like this. Maybe the blinkers coming off does the trick, but I won't be betting on it.
The number 3, Fantasia, has been her own worst enemy throughout her career. Just check out those lines. Bolted, and the race where it doesn't say bolted, that good-looking 47 on turf, she tried to bolt. The jock did a very good job on the far turn, keeping her in the 4-5 path, and once she straightened out, she ran on okay, and that was a decent maiden special weight at Lone Star, where the winners come back to run 3 times, a win, a third, a second, buyers at 66, 69, 73. So she certainly fits with this level of horse. I'm just not sure I can trust her when that second turn comes up.
No, absolutely not. I mean, like you say, based on what you've seen through 5 lifetime starts, it's been sort of one issue after another, and it just doesn't seem like she has her head tied on, right? Where is it a situation where even if she's in a good position, you think she has the ability to take advantage of a field like this, how can you trust that she's actually going to behave herself and do what she's supposed to do? Now, again, maybe you can make up for that with value. Maybe she's going to be somewhere in that 8-10-1 range. If that's the case, maybe I won't argue with you. But at the same time, just based on what she's done, it's kind of hard to trust her.
Number 4 is Colonel Bailey, and if you're looking for a fresh face, none fresher than the 4 Colonel Bailey as she makes her first career start. She's a late foal, so that might be one of the reasons why it's taken her a while to get to the races. And just on the face of it, Colonel John, Mr. Bailey's, there's turf in this pedigree.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the dam herself, she didn't do a heck of a lot as far as successful running is concerned. She was 0 for 11 overall and 0 for 8 on the grass, but this one is a half to a horse called Steal Away Lady, who was 4 for 22 on grass. You brought up the Colonel John, 9.5% with the first-time turf runners. And I understand when you take a look at face value for Lynn Ashby in the barn with the first-time starters, numbers aren't pretty. Past 4 years, first-time starters, 1 for 50. I mean, we're not talking about a high strike rate, but this barn has done really good work with some turf horses over the past few years. And you're right. The way that you can look at this horse, if you don't like anybody else, this is the complete X factor, the complete unknown.
And while the dam was winless in her career, she did earn a 76 buyer speed figure on the turf, so she could run a little bit on the surface. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. And I agree. I think the 5 Mighty Electric is going to make the lead as she makes her turf debut. Her sire Corfu, 1 for 17. A little early to tell how he's going to be as a turf stallion. 1 for 17 with first-time turf runners. Dam was unraced on the turf. This is mostly a dirt pedigree, but there are worse places to be in a maiden race with a lot of question marks than out in front.
Absolutely. And, I found it a little bit interesting. You brought up the 1 for 17 with the first time turf runners for Corfu, but then the balance overall 14% with the turf runners. So I don't know that this is totally a sort of out of left field move for a horse like this, especially if you're going to be able to get out there and dictate things on the front end. The distance, perhaps it could be a little bit of an issue, but look, 2 starts back. She only got beat by a length and she got a little bit tired at the end. I don't know. Maybe this is a sneaky play in here.
Six Talaka's raced 6 times. She's been entered for turf, I believe, 6 times, and she's only had a chance to race on the surface 3 times. A bit of bad luck, I would say, and she's only had her chance to step around 2 turns on turf once. That was her best effort, arguably. Her first start of the year. It was a race that she finished ahead of 2 next out winners. I thought she ran well. She came with a decent little run. She's getting Lasix for the first time. She's the kind of mare that needs pace. A 5-year-old mare making her 7th start. She's obviously had problems, but I think if she runs back to that 60 buyer, she's obviously a major player.
Yeah, if she runs to the run 2 starts back, she's right there with a chance. And you have to assume, with the Lasix going on, that she's going to take some sort of a forward step. Now, you brought it up. The key for me with Talaka, and really with most of these horses that have done some good work, whether it is the 0 for 12 maiden on the inside or Talaka, is that they're going to get the pace that they need to run at coming from the back of the pack. I think they're the 2 most likely winners of the race. I'm just going to be curious to see how the pace plays out.
The 7 Farcical was the beaten favorite last time out, but that race came on the dirt, and her career debut at this distance over this track, but without Lasix, she now races with Lasix, was a pretty good try. She came with a 3-wide run turning into the stretch. She was second best to the favorite that day. This little gray filly, I think, has a little bit of ability, and she might have more upside than the other main contenders because she's only started twice.
Yeah, very lightly raced. You don't know what the ceiling is just yet. You brought up that run 2 starts back. You've had 2 horses that finished behind her actually come back, do decent enough things, earn buyers of 53 and 55, albeit one of those on the dirt. But look, again, she's another one of those horses where she took money in that most recent run. Sure, it was washed off, but you think she gets back to the turf, maybe call this her second real start in her career because I won't hold the dirt race against her. Again, another one with the upside that's there as opposed to the horses that you've already seen run a few times.
Completing the field's your morning line favorite. That's the 8, Flat Out Screaming. 2-1 on the line. She is a daughter of Flat Out. And Flat Out, thus far, with first-time turf runners, is basically walking in the hoof prints of his sire, Flatter. He's only winning 5% with first-time turf runners like his dad. The dam was unraced on the turf. She has foaled a couple of turf winners, and the dam's a half to El Roblar, who is a graded stakes winner on the turf. So there is some pedigree on the bottom, and I thought this filly ran well going 2 turns in her career debut. If she takes to the grass, she's a contender, but I'm not sure I want to take her as the favorite doing something she's never done before.
Agreed 100%, especially with that sire Flat Out. And like you say, he is just continuing on that line from Flatter where they just don't seem like they can stand up on the grass. You brought up the bottom side. Maybe there's enough there to get her through this, but at a short price, it just isn't that appealing to me. I think she's one that is definitely in with a chance. I just wouldn't want anything too short.
Let's take a look at our top selections for Wednesday's DRFBets race of the day. It's the 3rd at Delaware. We're kicking off a 50-cent pick 5. I'm going to give Talaka a chance. 3rd off the layoff, adding Lasix. I thought the 1 and only 2-turn turf race was good. She's 3-1 on the morning line. These are very low-profile connections, and I think that will help her price. I'm also using the 1 stated in the pick 5. My top 4 are 6, 1, 7, and 3. You want the truly fresh face.
Yeah, for me, it's just more a matter of I'm not totally sold on what I've seen from some of these girls. I do look at it and say stated in the rare instance that I actually like an 0 for 12 maiden. I think she fits in here well. I agree with you on Talaka. She makes sense. I want to be against the far outside filly at a short price. And after that, I just looked around and I said, Colonel Bailey at least has a little bit of pedigree. And again, the first time starter numbers for Lynn Ashby, they're not great, but she's done some good work with some runners, or the connections anyway, have done some good work with horses on the turf. I want to give this one a look. I went 4, 1, 6, and 7.
Race 3 at Delaware, 1 mile on the turf. It is a maiden special weight. And again, get involved with a DRFBets account and learn how to get $150 in risk-free bets. Approximate post time is at 2:15 Eastern. Good luck.